What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS live stream. I am James Grande. Over there, we have Adam Ronis. Adam, Big 12 gamer to end the work week. We've been talking about it since last night on the podcast. If you guys didn't tune in, we still have about an hour to slate. You can fit that in till about lineup block. There is no value, and nothing has necessarily opened up. How do you feel about it? Hopefully we get some more value here. Maybe hopefully while we're talking, right?
Certainly possible. Not feeling great about it yesterday when we did the podcast. It looked like Jimmy Butler could possibly be out again due to illness, but he's probable. Looks like he's going to play. We do know Cody Zeller is out, so Bismack Biyombo, who performed very well in his absence the other day, there's some value there. And then, of course, we have some value on Philadelphia. Al Horford ruled out. Josh Richardson listed as doubtful. The question is, which of the cheaper guys are going to hit? And I think there'll be one or two that come through, and there might be one or two that disappoint. So I think that's the key, is kind of getting the right Philadelphia 76ers value plays correct.
Right. Russian roulette there in Philly, because we really don't know. I mean, we pretty much can assume Furkan Korkmaz is going to start. I mean, essentially he started in every game that someone sat out this year. But if Richardson sits, there's another vacant starting position. There has not been any word on who that could be. We've speculated Matthias Thybulle. We've speculated James Ennis. Maybe a dark horse Mike Scott, who they re-signed this offseason when he wasn't beating up Philadelphia Eagles fans. But I digress. We got a 12-game slate. A lot to talk about. Let's start at the point guard position, Adam, where Luka Doncic, of course, tops our list. Over 12K on FanDuel, 11.8 on DraftKings. I mean, because there is a little more value that's opened up, could you see yourself paying for Luka? I mean, it's a really good spot against a improved Phoenix defense, but it's a very nice tempo for Dallas tonight.
Yeah, just preliminary looking at things. It's been kind of difficult. But if you're going to pay up for anyone, he's in a great spot. I know he's coming off a disappointing game, but that was against the Clippers, and we know how good they are. That was a big national television game. Everyone was talking about Dallas, so I'm sure the Clippers were sick of hearing it and said, let's lock this guy up. And Doncic still got to the free throw line quite a bit, but it's a better spot here against the Suns. Totals around 231, and he's just smashing. I mean, he's got such a huge ceiling. So maybe it's difficult in cash, but if you put in multiple tournament lineups, then sure. I mean, you have to consider him, even with the salary. It's just a matter of, can you get him in there with some of the lack of value right now?
Right, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. Can we fit him comfortably and get other pieces to allow us to win tournaments? We're not just playing him to we got 70 from Luka, but the rest of our lineup has tanks. So it will be interesting as the night progresses towards roster lock, if anything opens up, so we can fit him more comfortably. At the rest of the point guard position written down in your playbook, we have Trae Young against Indiana. We have Malcolm Brogdon, John Morant, Chris Paul. Who of this next tier are you considering in cash games and tournaments? Are they all leaning towards tournaments here?
Yeah, Young is a tournament play. Obviously, you're worried about the Indiana defense, but he's going to take a ton of shots, and he can get there, but not in cash. I like Morant a lot in tournaments. I know we kind of overlooked him last night, but as I was doing research and digging deeper, his minutes are up. And I know people will look at this and say, oh, it's a tough matchup against Utah. Look at the games he's had recently. They've all been tough. He's come through with 53.8, 44, 46.8 DQ points in the last three against the Clippers, Pacers, and Lakers, man. He's got 27 assists over the last three games. The minutes limit seems to be lifted, so I like him in tournaments. I'm definitely using him in some tournaments tonight. And remember, Memphis plays a little bit of a higher pace, and he already had a good game against the Jazz. He had 44 DK points against the Jazz in 30 minutes on November 15th. So I think he's in a good spot. I think Chris Paul's safe for cash. We haven't really seen that huge ceiling game, but he's in a good spot at home against the Pelicans. We know how bad they are defensively and the pace they play at.
I wish there was more guys from OKC we could target, because this is such a good spot. But I do agree with Paul. Morant, Patrick Beverley defense, 53 fantasy points. Malcolm Brogdon defense, 44 fantasy points. The Lakers, the number one defense in the league, as you mentioned, 46 fantasy points. I mean, the guy's doing it all, and the minutes, like as you mentioned, are there, which is something that we have been begging and pleading Memphis to finally give him, and it's here. I love the Morant call. At the lower tier, we have Ricky Rubio again. He definitely let us down, and now he gets a $900 price bump, but for good reason. It's a decent matchup against Dallas, and you also have written down Tomas Satoransky, who has flip-flopped from probable to questionable, now back to probable. Could you see yourself rostering either of these guys tonight?
Probably more Rubio, and he might have the lower ownership because of the price bump. And in a chalk spot on Wednesday night, he let us down. I know we talked about it on the live stream, and we were into him, and it happened. So when that occurs, people are very hesitant to go back, and you have to have amnesia when you play DFS. Short term, you forget about what happened. So he's in a good spot. That should be a competitive game. Dallas favored by 2. Satoransky, not as much. You can't play him on FanDuel. It looks like he's going to play. If you want to have a spot open on late swap for later, sure. He's been playing pretty good lately. But at this point, I don't think you need to go there.
I agree. And the point of Rubio is perfect. I mean, recency bias can be a real, fill in the blank. We'll use your imagination. But let's move over to shooting guard, rather, where we have, I think the guys that you have listed are elite tonight. Donovan Mitchell and Drew Holiday. Mitchell in a huge peso spot. And Drew Holiday without Lonzo Ball. I mean, we have to love these guys, especially over on DraftKings at $7,800 a piece, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mitchell, great spot. Again, last time he faced the Grizzlies, 53.3 DK points. He's got a 32% usage rate, obviously coming off a couple down games against some good opponents. And Drew Holiday has been crushing it. He got off to the bad start this year, but lately, over his last 8 games, averaging 24 points, 8.4 assists, hitting threes, getting steals. And again, this is a team that plays at a high pace. They're not very good defensively. So, yeah, those are 2 of the better plays on this slate. And I would not be adverse to putting both in my lineup tonight, especially on FanDuel, both at shooting guard. I think there's some pretty good plays at shooting guard. You mentioned, we really don't have a lot on the Thunder to go tonight. You could look at Gilgeous-Alexander. Right. I know he's very frustrating, and I think we expect more from him, and he's had some down games. But if there's any spot where he can go off, it's got to be tonight. And he's already seen the Pelicans once this year and had 42 DK points.
Yeah, I mean, the usage rate is always there for Gilgeous-Alexander. That's the thing. 25.2% usage rate, second on the Thunder currently behind Dennis Schroeder, who I think is also probably a tournament play just because of the matchup. But I agree, Gilgeous-Alexander, it's just we need more. We just need more, okay? Please, we're begging you. But some other shooting guards to look at, we mentioned Furkan Korkmaz. I think we can just probably chalk him up as the chalk of the slate, considering we just got news that Cam Reddish is now considered probable. So there will be no DeAndre Bembry love tonight. We were hoping some value would open up there. That is unfortunately not the case. So I think Korkmaz is the value. But some other guys you have written down, and I think they're both tournament plays. I mean, we just saw Devontae Graham in this matchup, and he went absolutely insane. And we just saw Zach LaVine also go insane in his last game. Either of those guys stand out to you? Probably both tournament plays, right?
Yeah, LaVine's definitely a tournament play. I mean, I'm surprised he's only 7K on DK, 71 on FanDuel. And, yeah, he faced the Blazers a couple games ago and really didn't do much. But the upside is just there. I mean, he's had 36 points and 49 points in 2 of his last 3 games. And if that shot is going down, he can crush this price. So I'm definitely looking at him in tournaments. And Graham obviously coming off that big game, as you alluded to, 16 points, 15 assists, 7 rebounds. Don't count on 15 assists again, but maybe he could score a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully in the pick and roll with Bismack, just like we got early on in that last game. Let's move over to small forward, Adam, where we have elite plays. Generally, the small forward position consists of 3 to 4 elite options, and then it tails off very quickly. We have Giannis, we have LeBron, we have Kawhi, who I don't even see in the playbook. I do, okay, I see him now. And I know you had a little tidbit on Kawhi that maybe not everyone realized, because we do have a revenge narrative. I mean, we talked about it on the podcast. Do we consider this revenge because it's his second go around against the team?
Well, I think I don't know if it's revenge, but he clearly did not leave on a good note in San Antonio. There's no love lost there.
Right.
And he already faced this team on Halloween. He took 32 shots from the field, by far the high of the season. So I got to imagine he's going to be in that attack mode again. He's had a couple days of rest. He's got a 35% usage rate. I know Paul George didn't play that game on Halloween, but I got to think that, he's going to go off again tonight. Not someone that I think you have to get in there, but I could see him being low owned on this slate. So in a tournament, yeah, I'm going to get some exposure to him tonight because he could go off 38 points, 12 rebounds last time he faced the Spurs. I think he might be a little hungry tonight going to that basket.
Yeah, and it's weird to roster, I think, Paul George and or Kawhi with them both playing, but I mean, at any given night, one of the two can go off, and this definitely seems like a Kawhi evening. I think you can obviously play LeBron in a game against Washington. There's going to be like 300 points in that game because every Washington game features 300 points. I think you can play Giannis in tournaments. There's an 80-point ceiling, but I think we could just pick up what we said about Doncic and insert with Giannis. Is there going to be enough value? Going down the small forward position, we have the likes of Brandon Ingram, Tobias Harris, Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks. I mean, it's actually a pretty deep position tonight, huh? And this is not a position that we've been accustomed to saying that about.
Yeah, I really like Bogdanovic tonight. I mean, he's been so consistent lately. Again, another pace-up spot against Memphis. He's played at least 34 minutes in 5 consecutive games. At least 28 points in 3 of the last 5 and has at least 34.1 FanDuel points in 4 of the last 5 games. I mean, he's averaging over 15 shots per game from the field. So, you talk about consistency, high floor, that's Bogdanovic. So I think he's in a really good spot tonight. I mean, he's affordable, 64 on DK, 66 on FanDuel. Definitely. We've talked on the podcast about Alec Burks. It's not the best spot here against Miami, but he's the epitome of a tournament player because he can go off. I mean, here's the example. Look at the last 5 games. These are his points on DK: 48, 17.5, 40.5, 23.5, 44.5. So if his shot is going down, because he has taken a lot of shots from the field, at least 17 shots from the field in 3 consecutive games. So we know he's going to shoot. They need that offense. So if those shots are going down, he could explode. So that's why we put him as a tournament play.
Yeah, you're throwing away money if you play him in cash. So please don't do that. You do have Matthias Thybulle here. What's there to say? Again, it's just he's a defensive freak. If you ever watch him play, he is a freak of nature on the defensive end. That's where his stats are going to come from. That probably makes us like him more on FanDuel, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I said. He's averaging 3.7 steals and 1.9 blocks per 36 minutes. And look, he's definitely risky. I mean, he played the last game 21 minutes, had 32.8 DK points. We're not going to assume that, and we got to worry about the playing time, but it is the Knicks. So, again, he's a risky play, but he's min price. So if you're looking to save some salary and pay up for a Luka or a Giannis and nothing opens up between now and lineup block, that's a spot that you can punt, and he's capable of giving you 5x.
We've seen him start a couple games this year too, and I'm not going to speculate who's starting because we have no idea. Would you have any interest in James Ennis if he started here? Over on DK, Ennis is $3,100. So if James Ennis were to start, would that tilt you his way over Thybulle, or would you still prefer Thybulle?
I think you could go with Ennis, but there's no guarantee that he's going to play 30 minutes. Just because you start doesn't mean you're playing 30 minutes. So then it would just create havoc with all those guys, and we're kind of throwing darts there at that point.
I mean, Havoc is head coach's middle name. Every head coach in the NBA. So it really wouldn't shock me to see James Ennis in the starting lineup. Let's move to power forward, though, where it's a really good position up at the top. We have Anthony Davis coming off a massive game and a massive game total in a massive pace environment. I think he's in one of the best spots of the slate, and his price is still criminally low for the upside that he possesses. We have guys like Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo, who's a power forward over on FanDuel. We have Domantas Sabonis. I mean, where are we going at power forward? It's loaded.
By the way, Korkmaz will start. Jason Richardson officially out, so we'll see if we can get the entire starting lineup for Philly because we know Horford is out as well. I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, power forward. Look, Siakam, obviously in a tight game, is always going to play big minutes. It's a tough spot, not the greatest environment with Orlando. We know those totals are very low usually with Orlando, but if it stays close, he gives you a high floor that's solid in cash games. Anthony Davis, definitely a good spot. 10K on DK. I mean, he should easily get 5X. It's against the Wizards, and there's potential for 6, 7X on DK. I think we were liking Bam Adebayo a little bit more with Jimmy Butler out. Looks like he's going to play, but I think you could still play him. It's Golden State. They struggle inside, and Adebayo's had a great year. He passes the ball, good shot at a double-double. And Domantas Sabonis is just so reliable, man. He has 10 double-doubles in the last 11 games, and the one that he missed, he fell short by 1 rebound. So, again, it's very safe play for cash on DK at 7,900, and he's going against the Hawks, so there's always the potential for a higher ceiling against that defense.
Yeah, nice little pace-up spot. The Hawks are 11th in pace, but they've been playing way faster than they were earlier in the year, which is a good sign for the Pacers tonight. Just like you mentioned, the matchup for Adebayo, Golden State allows the 4th most fantasy points to centers. I mean, Adebayo spent 65% of his time at center compared to 35 at power forward. So, I mean, 4th most points, I agree. I think because Butler's going to play, it's going to be lesser ownership, and we could take advantage of that. We saw Jabari Parker go for 1,000,000 points against his old team in Milwaukee. We saw Dario Saric go for 1,000,000 points the last 2 games. Either of them, I mean, pique your interest. I know Saric, is going to be playing next to Aaron Baines, who is probable to come back. Are either of them? I mean, you have them in playbook, so obviously they pique your interest. Do you prefer one to the other?
Yeah, Parker definitely, especially with Baines potentially coming back. Parker, he's just such a big part of this Atlanta offense.
Right.
I don't expect him to do what he did last game. Obviously, tougher spot here against the Pacers, but just 6,200 on DraftKings. He easily could go 5, 6X. They just ask him to do so much right now in that offense with some of the injuries they've had.
Let's finish it up at center, Adam, where we have Joel Embiid. I mean, just take it away. Is he your favorite play at 9K? It's hard not to love him tonight.
It really is. I mean, I think I got to play him. It's against the Knicks. Who's going to stop him? He's got a usage rate of almost 42% with Al Horford and Jason Richardson off the court. This is a price that's just too cheap. He should easily double-double. It's a great spot against the Knicks, and just 9K is just way too cheap on DraftKings, man. Like, it's just he should be way more than that against the Knicks, and I don't know if maybe the performance 2 games ago when he had no points played a factor here, but I don't think we'll see Embiid this low probably the rest of the year.
And we shouldn't. This is a spot that we have to take advantage of him. Now, we did mention a lot of 76ers, and I asked you this off air, but I just want to get it. I just want to make sure, how many 76ers is too many 76ers tonight? For one lineup.
Probably 3, man. It's still a low total. They are shorthanded, though. But, I mean, Embiid is probably 1. I don't love Simmons, man. I mean, he just hasn't done much this year. He's not shooting a lot. The Korkmaz we mentioned, Thibault maybe, and Tobias Harris I put in the playbook. If you like narratives, he's from New York. He played high school ball on Long Island. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of family there. And he's 64 on DK. And you got to think that he's going to have more shots tonight. So, Embiid would be 1. Could look at Harris and Cash, and then one of the value plays. But I don't know. Are you on Simmons tonight?
I think I like Simmons actually more when Embiid's there. I just think they work well together. I think there's more assist upside because he could just dump it to the post and Embiid scores a quick basket. They don't really have people to spread the floor for Simmons, so when he kicks it out, I mean, if there's a 30% chance the shot's going in. I like the way he works, and it's the Knicks. He's a matchup nightmare for anyone, but especially Frankie Nicotine is not anywhere near as big as Simmons or anyone that they really, I guess Marcus Morris could be a pretty good matchup for the Knicks if they decide to put him on Simmons. Marcus Morris deemed himself the LeBron stopper at one point in time. So, I mean, if they do that, I mean, I guess, but I think the 76ers are going to be very popular across the board, Simmons included. Harris in cash, Korkmaz in cash. I think you could play 3 as well. I think that's a fair number. Let's finish out the center position, though. Andre Drummond, matchup against Bismack Biyombo. Both in the playbook, both firmly in play here, right? I mean, Biyombo, though, that's got to be your cash. He's got to find a way into your cash lineups at his price.
Yeah, he's just too cheap. Now, on FanDuel, you can only use one center. But you know what? There's really not, if you're not going to pay up for Embiid or Drummond, I think you just go Biyombo at this point. Now, we're going to get, we cannot expect what he did last game. But it's the same matchup. 34 minutes, he had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, and he's been pretty solid in his 2 starts this year. We know Cody Zeller is out. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be popular, but on a slate with not much value, I mean, DraftKings just lock him in. I mean, with multiple centers, because you could still get Embiid or Drummond with Biyombo. On FanDuel, you have to make that decision. But yeah, I mean, those are going to be 2 of the popular plays. And Drummond is still, he's not been the same. Obviously, he's not had that huge ceiling since Blake Griffin came back. But in this matchup, we've already seen it. We saw what he did the other day: 14 points, 21 rebounds, 7 assists. And then the other game against the Hornets this year had 16 to 20. It's just a great matchup. So if there's any time to play him with Blake back, it is in this game. And, pretty good price there where he should be able to come through for you.
Last 2 centers you have down in the playbook. Tristan Thompson, probably too cheap over on DK at 6,100. And Hassan Whiteside, who is someone that we discussed for quite a bit of time on the podcast last night, just considering there is tremendous upside and there's tremendous downside to this play.
Yeah, it's a matter of how many minutes is he going to play. Can the Bulls keep this game close? Because, we've seen the minutes. There's times where Whiteside doesn't reach 30 minutes. And, yeah, sure, he had 36 DK points against the Bulls last time in a 23-point win. We're going to need more than that at this price. So He's clearly a tournament play. He'll definitely – I got to think he's low owned tonight because people are either going to go up to Drummond or Embiid, or they're just going to go down. So he's not really someone that I'm looking at tonight unless I'm playing a ton of lineups. Right now, I don't have him in there, but I think you can consider him if you're looking at ownerships. And again, if the Bulls somehow manage to keep it close, I know no one thinks that, and Portland's better at home, and they had that road trip, but it wouldn't be surprising if they did. And if he plays 30 to 32 minutes against this Bulls team, with the way they have struggled against centers, he could smash.
Yeah, they're dead last against centers, dead last in rebounding. I mean, every category. But you're right. If you're an MME player, if you're a mass multi-entry player, you play Whiteside in a couple lineups. If you're playing 1 or 2 lineups, you play Embiid or you play Biyombo, or if you're playing on DraftKings or Fantasy Draft, or you just play them both. Like, that's just what it comes down to. Adam, I think that about does it. 6:28, getting out of here a little early to tinker with our lineups and ruin everything we've done throughout the day. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's hope some value opens up. If not, it'll be a challenging slate. But hey, it can't be easy every night, right? We got a challenge on our hands, and let's conquer it.
I like that. I think those are great words to end this live stream with. Big thanks to Matt Sells, the producer of today's show, and we will catch you guys in the winner's circle.